Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today I'm going to be talking about a new video series I'm going to be doing called Face Off. At least I think that's what I'm going to call it. And it's basically where I'm going to take two things from Doctor Who that have some kind of commonality between them, and I'm going to compare them. And this is going to be interesting, I think, because before I do each one of these videos, I'm going to do a fan poll like I did for this one, the first one I'm doing, with basically asking which one people think is better between Creature from the Pit and Nightmare of Eden. And then I'll talk about my thoughts on the stories and my opinion, and then I'll talk about how the fan result broke down in voting. So, it's really tough because I think Creature from the Pit and Nightmare of Eden are both underrated. I didn't dislike either of them. I liked them both. And it's really hard because I like them for different reasons. I think Nightmare rises above its budget pretty well, especially watching it with the enhanced effects, which I did when I watched it for the first time. That does help. I like the mandrels. It has some really bad choreography. I like the drug message. I think it does it really well. I like the fact it takes a show over tell approach where it actually shows you the effects of the drugs, the euphoria it creates and the withdrawal it causes. Instead of just lecturing to you like some other shows do when they're trying to get, and sometimes Doctor Who does when it's trying to get a point across, a political message or a moral message, like Orphan 55 is usually my go-to for that. And so I think it pulls its message off pretty well. I think Tom Baker is great in it. I think most of the guest cast do a good job in it. I enjoy Nightmare of Eden. I do. Creature from the Pit I also like. And to be honest, I think the story is fine. The one guy's really weird German accent and outfit is a little off-putting, but I think the rest of the cast are... No, wait, that's Nightmare of Eden. I'm still back on Nightmare of Eden, the guy with the weird accent. That is bothersome. Moving on to Creature from the Pit. I think its biggest problem is the unfortunate creature design, which isn't always so bad. It's just those few scenes that are, well, bad. Like when you first see the creature with its arm, and then of course that one very unfortunate scene with Tom Baker and the creature in episode 3, which seems to be what the story is remembered for the most, which is unfortunate because while those scenes are bad, I worry people base the reputation of the whole story on those scenes. Very unfortunate. Myra Francis is fantastic as Lady Andrasta, or however she says the name. I can never pronounce that name properly, but she's fine in that role. She's good in that role, I should even say. I swear, did she play in Blake 7? I can't remember. I swear she's famous from something, but I don't know what. Living in the States, I'm not as familiar with these legendary British actors like someone from Britain would be. But she's great in that role. I really, really enjoy her in it. I think the other guest cast are really well done. I think Romana is great in this, especially in episode 1. She really shines, but she's really good in the whole story. I love her outfit in it. I like that K9 gets a little bit of screen time in it. But really, I think what really bumps this one up for me is that one key scene at the beginning of episode 4 that I raved about in my review, like the first 7 minutes or so of the story. It's just, Tom Baker is just on fire. This could be one of the most underrated moments the Fourth Doctor has ever had, because I'd never heard anyone talk about that scene before, and I love it. The one where the Doctor is just being so in control of the situation, so calm and collected, like the Doctor is. The Doctor is that kind of person that even when he has guns pointed at him, literally or metaphorically, he never backs down, and he ends up swaying the Lady Andrus's people over to his side just with words. I love that. I love the way Tom Baker plays that scene. All you've got on this planet is weeds, weeds, force, and weeds. He talks about that bit about the something or another of this pathetic woman. Have a care, Doctor. You have a care for once. Have a care for your people for a change. I love that. I love that. That is so good. And then I liked in episode 4 because I didn't expect the lady to get killed off so early in part 4 that I didn't know where the story was going after that. It was neat experiencing this for the first time. Okay, is the creature really good? Was the creature lying? Is the creature bad? Is it actually, evil after all? Interesting scene where that was going to go, and then how they have to stop and divert the neutron star. I think the effects on that work really well. Like, it doesn't even need updated effects. The actual effects for that work really well, especially when the screen is hazing inside the TARDIS with everything going on. It's a really neat effect. So I think both stories are underrated. And when I was ranking Season 17 and when I was ranking the Graham Williams stories, I had a hard time ordering them. I did put Naimon a little above Creature. Because I think Creature, Naimon, and Nightmare, actually, that's the one I meant to say, Naimon and Nightmare. I think all three of those stories are very underrated for different reasons. Like with Horns of Naimon, I think of it as silly and campy. And while the production value really hurts this one, I think even more than the other two, the production value really hurts this one. I think the absurdness at times, the pantomime of it, the campness of it, makes it enjoyable. When I'm in a mood for just kind of a silly story I can have fun with, like with the overacting of Soldeed, I put on Horns of Naimon. I think it has a great rewatchability. I think all three of these stories have a good rewatchability. I mean, I've only seen the other two once, but I'm looking forward to going back and seeing them. But Horns, I love putting Horns on probably like once a year now. It's a fun story for watch. How many Naimons have you seen today? 3! I've seen 3! So it was interesting looking at how these break down. In the vote, when I looked at it, which is about 2 days after I posted it, 108 votes had been cast. And of course it was between which story is better between Nightmare of Eden and Creature from the Pit, or if both of them were equally trash. I always like to give a third option for these so people don't feel forced to vote one way or the other. And 56% voted for Nightmare of Eden, saying they thought Nightmare of Eden was the better one. And 34% voted for Creature from the Pit, and 10% voted that they were both trash. Which is what I expected. I hear more about Nightmare of Eden being underrated than I do Creature from the Pit. But as a matter of fact, Creature from the Pit had a higher percentage than I thought it would at 34%, a third. Because I've heard from several people that Nightmare of Eden's underrated, including Wingy Media, another really good Who-tuber. I know he likes that one. I don't hear that from Creature from the Pit a lot. So this kind of worked out the way I expected, 56%. I figured it might be a little higher. So that's interesting. That is interesting to me to see those figures. I'm looking forward to seeing what the poll will look like by the time this video airs. I'm running a bit ahead on videos. But yeah, between the two, I do slightly prefer Nightmare of Eden as a whole. But I think Creature from the Pit has the best scene with that one scene at the beginning of Part 4. I don't think anything from Nightmare quite reaches the level of that one scene from Creature, which I consider a masterpiece. I freaking love that scene. And I'm not quite sure where I put Horns in there. Horns I just like because it's silly and it's fun. So that's my thoughts on that. I would like to know what you think of those three stories, and what you think of the poll results, and what you think of this idea, just face off, and just doing a poll, getting the results, talking about it, and giving the poll results. I want to know what you think of that. I've already got a few more ideas I want to do for that. So, I want to know what you think. Comment down below. Other things to do. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, and the bell for notifications. I also have a Patreon if you would like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do. There is a link to that down in the description below as well. I want to give a special shout out to two of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane and the Fifth Doctor. I do appreciate their continued support, just as I appreciate the support of all of my patrons. Also down in the description you will find my P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review. A link to my Amazon wish list is there as well if you would like to check that out. Most importantly though, thank you for watching.